All right, everyone. I think we'll get started here. Still more people joining, but 10 o'clock. So I want to keep things rolling. 10 o'clock Eastern time. I don't know where everyone is currently, but as I'm doing this intro, everyone in the chat, if you just want to put where you're tuning in from, that allows me to know that the Q&A section is working or the chat section is working. Um, and then I'll just get into all the housekeeping items. All right, so. First and foremost, just super appreciative to all of you just for showing your support, obviously towards this conference, but towards the CBPN as a whole. When I started this towards the ending of 2025, um, I had the vision, but you never know with these things, right? Like when you have an idea and you start something, it's always just so uncertain, right? With the support you'll receive and the services how they'll go. But I've just been like blown away by just the level of support, the amount of um, yeah, it's just been awesome, super awesome, and it's been great to connect with professionals in the field, students in the field. I've done different speaking stuff at U of T and Ontario Tech, and again, just the outpour of support has been great, just across the board. So just wanted to start off by saying that. For those new to the CBPN, I guess the motivation behind starting it for me personally was for me coming out of Canada and having those goals at 13, 14, 15 years old of wanting to get to like the NBA and WNBA setting, the highest levels of basketball, as a strength and conditioning coach, and then merging my education with physical therapy. Like I always had that goal, right? But it was super tough, as I'm sure a lot of you can relate to, in terms of just how to navigate that goal, how to get to that point. And Thankfully, I was able to do it by the grace of God and by luck. But I the whole premise is wanting to help others to accomplish that same goal. It doesn't have to be NBA, WNBA if that's not your goal. Some people have goals of going to the NCAA or just working in the CEBL or working with the national team, right? So that's why within our program we have different pathways. So regardless of where you want to end up in basketball, we should be able to help you through a network, and that goes globally, but specifically within Canada, obviously me being Canadian, I really value and have a strong joy in helping other Canadians to reach their level of success. Um, a few thank yous before we get started. So, huge shout out to my to our administrative coordinators. I'll start with them. So, Jazz, Joanna, Raf, you'll see them in the throughout the conference, just asking questions and different things like that that you guys post in the chat. Um, but the past couple days, past couple weeks have been phenomenal with their help and support with this conference. Huge shout out to the speakers. A few of them are already here. And I'm super excited for you to meet them. Obviously, experts in their own right, and all have accomplished great, great, great things. And they're all people that I've known for a while and have respected from afar. Um, so it's been awesome to just connect with them now and to have them on this conference. That's been phenomenal. Huge shout out to the sponsors and supporters. Isofit, Vault, Plantiga, On Field Therapy, GBG Hoops, BioSteel, Recover Vibe, Canadian Strength and Conditioning Association, Puerto Rico Sports Performance Summit, Orca, Orca Performance, and there's been a whole heap of universities and colleges in Canada also supporting this thing as well. So again, the outpour has been awesome. Last few things. Um, all of you know the value of social media and how that can help to grow a brand. So I'm gonna throw this out there. Um, we will, as you're watching this, if you are, gonna post to social media, we highly encourage that. So we'll collect all the posts that are posted about this conference as a story post. Like if you just take a picture of your computer and be like at the CBPN conference, that counts. We're gonna gather all those up, and then we'll do kind of like a raffle. So the selected person will get free access to next year's conference. Okay, so just a little incentive there helps us with social media as well and growing our brand and all that stuff. So um, as mentioned in the emails, okay, so after each speaker, not every single speaker, but most speakers, there will be a sponsored talk. Okay, so we really want you to stay for those. Okay, it's an extra 5 minutes where one of our sponsors will speak about their service, product, whatever. But we really want you to stay for those. We've we had great support with our sponsors, and we just want to show them the respect that they deserve by having as many people in attendance as possible for their talk. You'll get a 5-minute break right after that. Okay, so if you could just stay for the session and then stay for the sponsor talk, then you'll get a 5-minute break after that. Okay. I think those are all the things I have. Again, if you have questions throughout the presentations, post them in the chat. One of our admin coordinators will see it and they will ask the speaker accordingly, just to keep things pretty organized. In terms of the chat, it's great to see people across Canada that have joined in. Uh, People in the States, it's awesome. Europe, that's really cool. So yeah, super appreciative of everyone. With all that said, without further ado, I'm super excited to bring the first speaker, um, Joel Kerr, Dr. Joel Kerr. My apologies. And I'm just super excited again to have him on board, and I'm sure he'll speak into some of the stuff that he's currently doing outside of obviously this conference. Um, but it's just phenomenal, and I think if you really value sound education and just learning more about the lower limb, especially, um, you'll really want to learn from him today and then follow his stuff afterwards as well and purchase whatever he has going on. So um, that's enough from me.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate you. So, happy Saturday to everyone who is on. We, first of all, we need to be very thankful of what we are doing right now, which is learning. There is a lot of stuff going around in the world, and I'm not even going to call it stuff, conflict. And we, as coaches and clinicians and healthcare providers, we are so blessed to be where we're at. And I just wanted to start with that first and just say that we need to give thanks for that, number one. Number two, Kev, I remember fall. I remember that conversation when you hit me up and you said, man, I think I want to. And I just had to stop you and say, cut it out. No thinking, just do it. And I love what you've done. This is what you've done. You've reached into your network and you've created this opportunity. And I'm super proud of you. I'm happy to be here. And I can probably, and the fact of the matter that I'm the first speaker, I just wanted to let you know that we're thankful for your drive, your initiative, because a lot of people say stuff, but they don't really follow through. And you've done that. And for all the students that are out there, if you have a piece of paper, I want you to take it out and I want you to draw on it a grid. I practiced writing backwards, everybody, and I accomplished it. I'm so proud of myself. I want you to write these 4 words in each quadrant, and whatever it is that you're thinking of doing, like Kevin said, like Dr. Kevin said, you could either say you're going to do it, you can think you're going to do it, or you're going to actually do it. And I'm telling you to be the blob of do. And what I mean by that is simply this: be the blob of do. Okay. Whatever it is that you have written down to do, this is a simple little reminder of who you want to be. And that's a blob of do. So without further ado, good segue. I'm going to step into the shared screen here and I'm going to start off with my presentation. I'm already at the end. Look at that. All right. Can I get a thumbs up that everybody is seeing this, or somebody just turn on and tell me that they're seeing what I'm seeing, which is the intro page?
Dr. J, I'm not seeing that
You're not
each.
seeing that screen? Okay, give me a second. Thank you. Uh, 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 uh. Oh, here we go. Entire screen. No. Oh, here we go. How about now?
Yep.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Okay, so I have the job today to talk to you about what I've been working on for the past 2 years and technically my entire career. Again, speaking to the students that are out there and the clinicians and coaches who are just starting out their career, I want you to make sure that you take away something from the time that we're going to spend with all of the speakers, not just with myself. But the job that I have today is to talk to you about the foot and ankle, and with regards to how it influences performance. Now, if we think about how we were taught in school about the foot, it looked like it was just a structure that we stood on. It had some muscles, it had some bones. But if we're talking about performance, we have to realize that the foot isn't just to be designed for explosiveness, speed, and strength. Like, we got to start looking at it as something that we want to include in our daily day-to-day life to enhance our human function, but also our performance as well, if you're working with athletes. And here's my belief: when you are training, specifically performance training, it has to start from the foot. And you cannot take that fact away, because it doesn't have to involve any trendy barefoot shoes or trendy barefoot exercises or balance hacks or tech or wearables. It's just having a better understanding that your foot is designed to accept load, transfer that load, and maintain tissue integrity with every single step. Okay? Now, again, the foot is not just a structure at the end of the kinetic chain. It is the ability of your athlete, yourself, to interact with the world. It's mechanical. It's mechanical with respect to muscles, ligaments, tendons, bone. It's sensory, and it's neurological. And my goal for the end of this conversation is that I want you to start appreciating it a little bit more. And I want you to understand, when I say that performance from the ground up, I'm talking about the foot and ankle. So let's get into that. So as I mentioned, um, I've been in this profession for over 26 years. And of that 26 years, I've been a chiro and a sport neurofunctional acupuncturist. I've I've been responsible for mentoring and teaching 15 other healthcare professionals in a clinical space that I opened up in 2010 called the Health Institute, ranging from physios, RMTs, ATs, all of the above. During that time, my caseload was anywhere between 10 and 20 patients in a day. And I've worked with athletes far range from 5 different leagues, from the NBA, the NFL, CFL, currently CEBL, and in the NHL. I've visited 4 different areas around the world to teach, coach other clinicians. I have 3 values with regards to my coaching. And number 1 is to observe. Number 2 is to perform. And number 3 is listen. Like, those 3 values guide how I coach, how I teach, how I work with my patients and my athletes. I got 2 hands, I got 2 ears, I got 2 eyes, and I use all of them to be of service. And I've been doing this for over 20 years, 2 decades. And my number 1 mission for today is to ensure that when you leave this conversation with myself, you're going to have a better understanding of why the foot needs to be involved with your performance care. And I'm showing you all these numbers, showing you these things that I've done, because at the end of the day, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. I've been doing this for a while and I enjoy it. And my mission right now is to empower and influence the next generation of practitioners to want to learn more. Because we're living in this conundrum right now where you can just hop on any social media and just copy what you see. My team, the base team, is my beautiful wife. We've started this educational platform together. And our goal is to educate, empower, and connect with like-minded individuals. We got a young man by the name of Coach Casey, who is our strength coach. And we all together collectively come together to work together. Excuse me, I'm repeating myself. We came together to educate and empower and connect. That is our mission. That's our vision. Here are our 4 core values. And the number 1 value right now today is to inspire you to want to learn. If you take a look at this structure, you see, maybe you see it or you don't. I'm going to walk you through it. This is an atom. And in the center of the atom is the nucleus. And what we propose is that we are going to be the center, the organization of your learning, because we recognize that healthcare professionals, those who have a desire to help, recognize that there's a gap in our education and the foot is often overlooked. And we want to highlight the fact that there is an interconnectedness, a unison that is required for you to positively affect the foot. You have to understand that. And the cheat code really is combining manual therapy and active intervention, performance care, which starts with a proper assessment, but you got to know your stuff. And that's why BASE is stepping in to help you with that. That we offer a full course and a certificate that we've combined. We've partnered with George Brown Polytech through their continuing education program. If you require any certs, there they are. You'll get them. And we'll continue to provide details about this course. Our cohort is coming up in May 2nd. It's 5 modules. We're breaking it up into 4 weekends. We look at the literature. We look at how the foot has evolved and gait. We dive into the anatomy, because at the end of the day, coaches and clinicians, I'm not really sure how you can treat and affect the body in a positive way and enhance performance if you don't know your anatomy. That is a question that you want to ask yourself if you are still unsure, unclear, and not precise with your anatomy. I do not know how you are affecting the performance of your athletes or your patients. And in the last module, 4 and 5, we're looking at the biomechanics and the overall exercise prescription. So here's a question for you. How does the foot influence performance? And as you can see, they are all number 1s. I do not have a list going from 1 to 6, because these are the 6 aspects of performance that are influenced by the foot. And I start with locomotion, but as you can see, it's all of these. And the second point that has a number 1 is still load acceptance, transfer, and distribution. This is important. How can you instill and enhance performance if you're not sure how it's being done at the end of the kinetic chain? The foot is the last thing that hits the ground and the first thing that hits the ground. So you got to have an understanding of how that happens. Now, how did I become a foot guy? In 2020, a somewhat unremarkable year, there was a point in time when the clinic was completely closed. And when we reopened, this is what happened. I had over 23 Achilles tendon ruptures that presented itself into the clinical space. And I'm talking athletes, non-athletes, moms, dads, uncles, a whole wide range of people. Same structure, different mechanism for each and every one of them. And I was taken back. I had no idea what was going on and why this was happening, but I had to do the work. And for this presentation, I was trying to figure out, what should I really focus on? Should I talk about the fact that the Achilles is not a uniform rope like we thought or when we were explained to in school, and that it actually is a distinct subtendons that actually twist? Great paper here, by the way. If anybody's interested in getting access to this paper, you are more than welcome to drop me an email at the end, and I will get it off to you. But no, I didn't want to focus on this. But at the same time, I really wanted to highlight the fact that if you are unaware of this and you are still training your athletes thinking that it is a structure that just goes up and down, this paper will tell you otherwise. The subtendons, they actually twist. And this is part of their overall function, because it will allow the body to absorb more of this elastic force and energy so that we can do the things that we humans like to do. Specifically, if you're working with athletes, you need to know this, because you cannot train this structure in the sagittal plane, in one plane at all. So that last point at the bottom, I want to highlight that. This torsion that is naturally occurring, and you can see that there's 3 different types, is transmission of force through the triceps surae. Very, very important. Great paper. If you want access, like I said, drop me a note. I'm not going to focus on that. But then I was like, maybe I should talk about the fact that if you have flat feet, you have to change the way that you train. Not necessarily change, but you have to make sure that you are engaging in some kind of dynamic intervention that involves the foot. By the way, Jamaican background, shout out the GOAT, Usain Bolt, of course. Because if you take a look at his feet, he probably has the most overly pronated feet of anyone who is a sprinter. And I'm not saying that I've worked with him, but I can comfortably say that his feet are overly pronated. But did he do short foot exercises, toe spreads? I don't know. He might just be a special genetic specimen, which he most likely is. But this paper written by Osborne indicates that we need to involve some form of foot strengthening exercises when we're working with athletes who have pronated excessive feet. And originally, when I was building out base, these two movements were the go-to. But according to these two papers, or excuse me, this paper, it's actually not the case. And if you're still doing towel crunches and marble pickups, my goodness, you better sign up for the course right away. Because what you are not doing is strengthening the foot. Because the positioning of these muscles, first of all, they're short. And then when you do these movements where you create more flexion, they're even shorter. So how are you really maximizing the force of these structures to create stability in the foot when they are at a position where they cannot bring their sarcomeres closer together? This paper, written by Goldman, tells us that the best way to maximize and optimize the strengthening positioning of the foot, the intrinsic muscles specifically, and the extrinsic ones, specifically flexor digitorum longus, is we have to make sure that our toes are in a lengthened position. Once again, if you are towel crunching and marble picking upping and thinking marble picking upping, but if you are continuing to do those movements and thinking that you're getting the benefits of strengthening of the foot, you're sadly mistaken. Okay? If you need this paper, hit me up and I'll get it to you. So what are we going to talk about? What we are going to talk about is the underselling of the foot. The foot is not just a passive lever. It's not just for mobility, and it's not just an arch. This paper written by McEwen back in 2015 was the game changer for me, because what it did, and the image should tell you everything, is that everything is connected. And at the pinnacle of the connection is the neural subsystem. It governs everything. What is a neural subsystem? We're talking about musculocutaneous receptors, ligament receptors, plantar cutaneous receptors, nerves, nervous tissue. It tells us where we are, what we're doing, how much load is coming in and out. The passive subsystems, obviously, ligaments, arches, they store energy. The active system is what moves us. Intrinsic ones are the stabilizers. This is a system. The foot core system is what they called it. This is how we are going to look at the foot going forward through base and with this time that we're spending together. But how do you access the neural subsystem? The easiest way that you can do this, coaches, clinicians, you're going to take this information and apply it right now, is the sensory gate. Our feet, the bottoms of our feet, have over 200,000 sensory receptors. That is a lot. And it is designed to tell us how much information it is designed to tell us information to our brain so that we know what posture, temperature, balance, and pressure. These are all things that you can access once you unmute your foot. What am I referring to? Taking your socks off, taking your shoes off. Everyone in North America, I have no idea why we are so adverse to this. We have gyms that have signs in the space that say, please keep your shoes on. We can have 24-hour gyms. We can have $1,000 pieces of equipment, but we cannot keep the gym space clean. It baffles my mind, because when we are trying to influence the nervous system, the best way that we can do that is through the soles of the foot. Look at the functions of these sensory receptors, ranging from stretch deformation to high vibration. Okay, so this is a simple way that you can access the sensory gate. Now, if you're sitting there, man, there's no way. Basketball athletes, soccer athletes, they don't play their sport without shoes. Obviously, I am not trying to start a barefoot league of any sport. But what I am trying to point out is the old saying that when you train, when you work out, when you practice, you're working harder. You're setting up the system to be able to maximize its performance when you get into the game. So if you have your athletes, then they may even have an aversion to wanting to be barefoot. Include this in their homework. So when they're at home, they are actually training these sensory receptors. The foot cannot be muted, and you expect it to accept load and transfer this load and understand what load it is presented amongst it. Okay? So, training barefoot gives us access to sensation, just said that, neurological readiness. We need that to play sport. We need that to perform. It is the best way that we can communicate with the sympathetic nervous system. This is an easy start. Feedback loop. We should be familiar with this, right? We should be familiar with the fact that when you stand barefoot, you're going to have your sensors interact with the ground. There's going to be information that's going to be sent to the brain. Then there's going to be an efferent message sent to the muscles. Do something, perform better. Movement, something in between there has to occur. This will not happen if we do not have the sensory gate available to us. And then in addition to that, we need to have intent on what and why we're standing barefoot. We need to have specific coaching cues. The means and methods have to be selected correctly. We have to access different kinds of muscle contractions. Shout out Brad, ISOFIT. We definitely want to include some isometric contractions here. And we need to make sure that the body is moving in 3 planes of motion. My friends, I really, really hope at this stage in your career that you have a great command of this. You have a great command of the planes of the body and the axis of rotations that occur as a result of this. As we build out this network and we build out these opportunities for speaking, I'm hoping one day we will be in person and we can actually have an active lab to go over this concept. If you are not familiar with this, this is something that you want to spend some time with, because you potentially are training your athletes in one plane, and that is dangerous. And we'll get into that in a second. So back to the foot. Tripod must be understood, because this is the beginning of the system. If you are working with any athlete that uses their feet, how about teaching them how to accept load? This is a simple exercise, once again, creating that tripod. The foot anchors everything from the ground up. Now, let's step into a concept here. And the concept is this. Within our system of our base approach, we talk a lot about the breath to foot connection. There are 3 types of breath patterns and foot associations. We've called them the braced base, the collapsed base, and a drifting base. Let's see what that looks like. We've all seen a patient, a client, an athlete who comes into our space that looks like this. Just stiff, tight jaw, rigid belly. What does their foot look like? Exactly the same. Rigid arches, poor grounding. That is our braced base breather. Say that 3 times for you. Here is our collapsed base breather. Slouched in chest, rounded shoulders. What do you think their feet look like? Exactly the same. Overemphasized foot contact. Lazy heel arcing. Passive pronation, just standing there. This is how they're breathing as well. And then my least favorite client, pardon me, just taking a sip of water, the hypermobile patient, the bag or bowl of noodles. Listen, they are a challenge. They need a little bit of stability. They need a little bit of mobility. It has to be the right amount, because their feet are just literally a bowl of noodles. So let's go back to a question. Don't forget any of that breathing patterns that we just that I just provided, but we'll get back to that. This question is very important. What is the goal of our interventions as a coach, as a clinician? It's exactly the same. It doesn't matter if you are a physio, a chiro, a basketball performance coach, a soccer performance coach. The goal is the same. What is that goal? It is to communicate to the nervous system, modulate it. And that could be either increasing the input or decreasing the input. It depends. You have to obviously look at the person in front of you. Once you determine what they need through your observation, through your listening, through your assessment, through their goals, you will figure out what and how you're going to talk to the nervous system. Now, if we look at the column on the left, it's that patient who's stuck in rehab, always injured, either sedentary, or the athlete that's getting ready for some form of competition. Got to wake up that nervous system. And on the flip side, the patient that's always acutely injured, high stress, if you work with the general population, we're talking about lawyers, accountants, doctors, always on guard, lots of tension, or the overtrained athlete. You want to turn down the nervous system in that capacity. At the end of the day, if we look at the tissue spectrum of our body, we have passive tissue on the far left, active on the right. Our nerves are intermixed between all of them because that is how we communicate with the brain, who's the motherboard of everything. If you remember my foot core system image at the beginning, the nervous system was on top. Here, it's sprinkled between all of these forms of tissue. So let's go back to that connection. The breath to base, the diaphragm foot integration. Okay, stay with me here. Another easy way that we can access the nervous system and modulate it and communicate with it is with breath, with breathing. It is a neuromechanical foundation for movement readiness. You are able to regulate the pressure and the mechanism of control of the diaphragm with your breath that directly interfaces with the pelvic floor. So knowing this, being aware of this, this is an easy entryway to communicating to the nervous system. Coaches, I'm going to let you read that last line there to yourself. Look at the image there. Look at the diaphragm blending into the psoas major, the iliacus going right into the hip. Breath can alter your foot loading, stability, and sequencing. This is something that you can do with your patients and your clients right now. Research to back it up now. Okay? This paper in 2020 looked at how the foot, functionally coupled through fascial connections, creates a pressure-based system. The diaphragm is able to contribute to trunk stiffness, which allows us to connect the myofascial continuity from the diaphragm right down to the foot. This is real application of your breath work to your footwork. Ooh, I like that. I got to remember that. Look at this anatomy here. The pelvic floor is the middle diagram. And on the right, you most likely have seen this right now because everybody is talking about fascia. Fascia this, fascia that. And it's not to say that fascia just got invented, but now everyone is aware of it. But look at the connections here, all the way up from the neck, from the jaw. You've probably even seen some people on Instagram saying that they can cure your foot pain by pulling on your tongue. Please, my goodness, please don't practice that without having a good understanding. But we're going to keep going. And I'm going to try to make this connection here. And the connection is this. Remember what I said about planes of motion. We just went over the foot-breath connection. I hope everyone understands that our bodies do not actually move in a vertical fashion. That all of our movement as humans has some form of spiral helical motion. And breath work is an easy way for us to ensure that this pressure-regulated system is doing its job. Boom. Knowledge bomb. Let's keep going. Like I said, if you think about, or if you visit any big box gym, it almost seems that we humans only train things that we see. Flexion, extension, up, down, sagittal dominance. And it's mainly because we just want to look and see what we want to see. Big pec, big bi, big quads, turn around, big glute. But all human movement is spiral. Keep that in mind, especially when we're working with our athletes. This helical motion idea, when we walk, it occurs. When we run, it occurs. Hinging, it even occurs when we rotate. And it's because of that axis of rotation. So if we are moving in the sagittal plane, the axis of rotation is in the frontal axis. If we are moving in the transverse plane, we are having a vertical axis. And when we're moving in the frontal plane, we are moving in the sagittal axis. This is that rotation that's occurring all the time. Now, if we have regulated pressure and we're breathing well, our rotation is going to come from our rib cage, which we want. We want our diaphragm to descend efficiently. We want our pelvis to counter-rotate from the rib cage. And then we want transfer of force to be going in a diagonal fashion. Remember that picture of the diaphragm going into the opposite iliacus and psoas. This is spiral force transmission optimized. We want this to happen. But what about those poorly managed breathers? The braced one, the collapsed one, the drifting one. Stiff rib cage, no movement. Okay, the pelvis is now trying to get that rotation that the rib cage isn't getting. The femur is now getting jammed. The foot is now becoming a shock absorber, and there is a lost amount of rotation. Compression, force has to go somewhere. And guess where it sadly ends up? In that kinetic chain at the bottom. This is why I'm talking about the breath to foot connection as the foot guy. This is not theory. I'm not trying to hype up base and trying to say that this is why you need to focus on the foot. This is real. This is happening. And we have made this connection recently because of these three concepts that have come through with regards to thoracolumbar fascia tension models and axial rotation. There are some GOAT papers that you all should be aware of to recognize the importance of this. We're talking about Vleeming's paper for thoracolumbar fascia tension. And with regards to the axial rotation, Glasgow's paper back in 1995 that looked at the overall biomechanical assessment on the model of twisting in the thoracolumbar fascia being able to affect the spine. And most recently in 2025, the connective tissue force transmission. Big papers making that connection. It's not the influencers that are telling you that you need to go and see a fascial stretch therapist. This stuff has been out there for a long time, but now it's just getting trendy. Why base starts with the breath. Just went over this. If you can make sure that you have a good breathing athlete, you're giving them a chance to perform at the highest level. This is why we start with breath work with our base approach. Then we move on to the kinesthetic awareness of the goat toe. Then we sprinkle in some stability movements. We co-contract the intrinsic and extrinsic muscles. And then we add some form of performance movement that we call backwards advantage. This is how we enhance the performance of our athletes. This is how we want to be able to teach any coach and clinician a system that will allow your athletes to perform at their highest level. Here it is again. Rib cage, diaphragm, pelvis, femur, tibia, foot. Always shows up somewhere. The spiral compression ability of the body to make sure that that rib cage is moving in a diagonal fashion. But if you do not have if you do not have adequate breathing patterns, you put this system in a disadvantage, which ultimately affects your performance. So performance is not about neutrality, guys. It's not about being static. I remember a couple of years ago in the fitness industry, performance industry, health industry, chiro specifically, everything needed to be neutral and straight. But performance is not about that. You got to make sure that you allow your nervous system to do its job. And you can easily access that with breath work, pressure modulation, and controlled rotation, controlled articular rotation. Shout out Spina for functional range conditioning. Dynamic interventions, performance training must respect spiral mechanics. This is important. And now if you look at our sport that we all love, our athletes are constantly in positions where their foot is going to be exposed to an excessive amount of force in positions of inversion or eversion, rear foot and the forefoot. And they have to be able to take in this force, because if they cannot, performance deficits will occur and ultimately an injury will occur. And what type of injuries are we talking about? Ankle sprains, Achilles tendon ruptures. I told you 23 of them I saw in 6 months. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, planes of motion, breath work equals structural integrity. We're seeing a lot more athletes recognizing that. They're recognizing that they can regulate the pressure within their trunk, and it will ultimately modulate their nervous system and give them a chance to perform at a high level. Detroit Pistons are doing really well. This is one of a colleague that I know personally from Toronto who teaches these guys regularly, coaches them regularly on their breath work. She's doing great work. An aspiration for myself, my team, to be able to have access to professional athletes to teach them these things. We want access to teach you coaches and clinicians on how you can do this, because this is what's going to allow your athletes to perform well. It is no accident that the Pistons are doing well. Cade Cunningham is doing very great. And here is the system that has been put in place to help support that. So once again, let's go back to what we know. If you have the intention to enhance performance, you must know which tissue structures you're going to enhance, which will ultimately affect the tissue function. And remember, we are saying that the best way that you can communicate to the nervous system, I show you two ways: the sensory gate and breath work. Easy. Can be done, can be taught to your athletes, to your coaches, to your active population. And the way that we look at intervention and performance in general is that there's two domains. You're either in the reconditioning stage, where you're trying to restore function, tissue capacity, and control, or you're on the performance stage. That's it. You're building strength, you're building resiliency, and you're ready for competition. In the center of everything that we do, coaches and clinicians, there has to be an intent on why you are doing what you're doing. With regards to your professional development, being on this call, being a part of this association, and with regards to the tissue intention and structure and function. If you're just aimlessly throwing stuff and hoping that it works, I'm not really sure how you're going to enhance performance. And these are just key terminology that we all should be aware of, that your type of your exercise is your mean, and the method of how you do it with regards to tempo, rest intervals, intensity is how we do it. The mean is what we do, and the method is how we do it. This builds provides input for the intent. This supports the goals of the athlete. This also makes sure that what you are prescribing is safe. It has to be. And it goes back to coaching language. It's not just pick up the weight. It's okay. Let's set your tripod. Let's get a big breath in. Let's make sure that our feet are shoulder width apart. Let's make sure that we are not toe grabbing the ground. All of this is coaching language to make sure that we are getting the best out of the movement. I really hope, once again, that we are familiar with this concept. If you're trying to enhance performance and make your athlete comes in and says, man, last season I was really slow, I need to get faster. And you say, all right, we're going to start with a yoga program. I'm not setting down yoga. I'm not saying that it's not a great thing, but that is not going to help the body adapt to get fast. It's it's a piece of the puzzle, but we got to make sure that whatever we are prescribing is going to actually assist the body to adapt to what we want for the goal. Okay, with regards to that said principle, we have these 8 specific movement patterns, which we all should be familiar with. And here are components of fitness. And once again, those planes of motion. Out of all of these movements, I'm going to ask a question, and when we get to the end, I hope somebody can answer it for me when they decide to ask a question. What is the most natural of those 8 movement patterns that we don't spend a lot of time with our non-athletes, maybe even some of our professional athletes? I want somebody to answer that question when we get to the Q&A part. Our governing principles for base is simple. We start with mobility, we build stability, and then we add strength. And the mobility that we start with is rotation. Why? Most of injuries that occur are in the fact that there is some kind of rotational force that the body cannot handle. So we want to restore that first. Then once we do, now we can start tapping into the lateral structures that typically don't like to be rotated, increasing the stability there. And then lastly, strength. But in reality, we want to be able to do all of these principles in all fashions, in all planes. And the best way that we can do that is by creating tension, time under tension. How much input can the actual structure manage? And we can build on this. And it starts with creating tension. So what do we know? This is one of my favorite quotes by Nassim, and it really is true. It's an orchestra, and nothing happens in isolation. You cannot just say, all right, today I'm just going to work on my butt. That's it. Or today I'm just going to work on my foot. As much as I am a quote unquote foot guy, obviously there has to be knowledge about the rest of the body. And my brother Brad is going to speak tomorrow, and the same thing with him. Everyone knows him as the isofit guy, the isometric guy, but he actually does other things in the gym that are concentric contractions of muscles. Oh my gosh. And eccentric ones too. So it's not to say that just because we focus on one part of the body that we ignore, because it's impossible. Everything is a puzzle. Every single time an athlete comes to you, they are a puzzle, and you are a puzzle finder. And sometimes when they come to you, you're going to start with the bottom right puzzle. The next day they might come with the top left one. But it starts with your values. Remember, my values are observation, listening, and performing. And if you do not take the time to listen to your client and have an actual system, you're going to miss things. Great. Our base framework pillars, once again, real foot training. Starts with breath work, nervous system modulation. Starts with kinesthetic awareness, modulation of the nervous system once again. Fine motor control, speaking to that nervous system once again. Co-contractions, isometrics, throw them in, all three planes. Stability, balance, nervous system once again, and definitely with performance. We say somehow our industry has gotten lost in a way that we need to collect all this data, and I'm not anti-data in no way, shape, or form. But before you start collecting data, get an understanding of what these structures are involved. What are they doing? How are they doing it? You get all these numbers and you just don't know what to do with it. And that's what BASE is here. We're here to remove the complexity of the human frame, give you a little bit of a GPS guide. Because my time with you today wasn't about trying to give you a list of exercises, and I just wanted to shift your perspective. And your perspective is that I want you to recognize that if you look at the foot in a different way, you're going to coach it in a different way with regards to squats, your programming of plyometrics, how the tissue responds to load, specifically tendons and ligaments, because our athletes are getting bigger, they're getting stronger, they're moving faster, they're combining endurance and muscular endurance exercises with maximal exercises. And if you don't understand how the tissue loads, accepts load, and transfers load, every and anything that you prescribe is going to not give you the most maximal effect that you want. It's not going to enhance performance as much as you think it is. So if this is a conversation, a little teaser of what we do at BASE and how we can help your coaching, I really think the conversation will, no, I don't think, I know the conversation will continue through our course, through hanging out with the things that we're doing. Would love to connect. Here's the information about the course. Here's our email, website. Like, this is the start of shared knowledge, being a part of what we like to call our home base. And I'm looking forward to fielding some questions and scanning back to the top of the presentation if there are any. But I'm really thankful for the time. Today's a special day for me. It is my birthday, and this is how I decided to spend it with y'all. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Kerr, and happy birthday. I had no idea, but sorry that I didn't. Okay, so in the interest of time, we do have 5 minutes for a Q&A session. And so I can start with everything that's in the chat. So the first question that we received was Elise, who asks, this may be a tough one because I know it really depends on the patient, but what are your top 3 key exercises to develop foot strength and control?
Oh, I will not give the prototypical coach's answer, teacher answer of it depends, but I'm going to say it does depend, because that's one thing I want us to be better at as coaches and clinicians, that we should not be trying to prescribe anyone through Instagram, through giving top 5 answers of the best exercises, like because we don't know the nuances of this person. But I will do my best to answer the question. And I gave 2 of them already. Number 1, let's take a look and observe their breath. How do they breathe? And how does it affect their feet? So let's modulate their nervous system. Let's communicate to the nervous system by creating some breath work techniques. Simple one is a 2-minute physiological sigh, where they're just laying supine, eyes closed, and they're breathing. You saw the picture with Jana, who works with the Pistons. Okay? Then if we want to advance that, we can get them in, say, a beast position or quadruped, where now we're going to really put the lumbopelvic region in heightened awareness, where you're going to have to maintain some form of neutral spine positioning while you're breathing, because it's going to be hard. Number two, that tripod position. Very, very simple. They have to be aware of their feet. I know what I'm going to say next. People may scoff at it, but if an individual, a human, does not have great sensory awareness of their feet, why would we try to load this same human with a back squat, with a 24-inch plyometric jump, a unilateral squat, a unilateral 24-inch drop jump, depth jump? So start with them understanding where their foot is. You can advance that by lifting one foot up, make it unilateral, put a weight in their hand. So now they're working under stability. And then the third and the most important of all of them, start getting them to walk. That answer to my question, when I said the when I listed the eight natural human movements, I wanted someone to say gait. Walking, running, bounding, skipping, all of those natural movements as human, of all the things that we do as coaches and clinicians, teaching your client how to walk, run, and I did not, as you can see, I did not say sprint, because there's only a handful of people who can actually sprint fast at top speed. But teach them how to run at their own speed. Teach them how to skip. Think about right now in your repertoire, if you were to go into your caseload and say to your client, skip, a lot of them would struggle with that level of coordination. I hope that helps. Breathing, scanning the tripod, and learning how to skip.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
The next question from Vanessa, which I'm sure a lot of people are asking for, would be just access to the articles. And so for that, what we can do on our end is probably just send out your info, like your contact info,
Please do. Please
so
do.
that they would be able to reach out to you personally and ask for that. I think we do have time for one more rapid fire question before we get into our 5-minute break. So I'll just go on to the next one, which is, so it'll be Alex's. So, is there a screening process that you undergo with clients to determine if movement at the foot or ankle will cause issues up the kinetic chain? And I think
Uh,
you kind of did touch on that with checking the posture, breath, and gait, but I'd love to
oh
hear more.
no, it's a great question, and I love the fact that we're leaving with that one, because at the end of the day, my friends, my colleagues, this was a teaser, and if you watch any movie, it's a 2-minute teaser for you to be like, "Ooh, I want to go watch this movie." If anybody still goes to the movie theaters anymore, I'm definitely dating myself. Yes, there is a system, and we use a movement series that we call FLOW, and it stands for Functional Loaded Observational Work. And it is a series of movements that looks at every joint, from the ankle, big to the toes, knee, hip, low back, T-spine. And it allows the person who you are working with to, underneath a yielding isometric load, to see if their tissue can handle it. To see if their tissue can handle this, being in this position for an extended period of time, 8 to 10 seconds. And the amount of information that you gather from that will guide what needs to be done with regards to mobility, stability, and strength. And that is something that we dive well into with regards to the course. And if you remember, one of my goals at the top was, I just want one of you from this teaser to sign up and be intrigued by what I presented today. Obviously, would love all of you, but for my birthday, we'll go with one. And sorry, one more thing. For anybody who I did not get the chance to answer their questions, please, you're going to get my email. It's info@base supports. Don't be a stranger. What we are building here is a network for questions. There's no charge to ask questions. This is why Dr. Kevin created this, so that we can grow together. So hit me up and don't be shy about that. I'm here to help. Thank you so much.
Dr. J, happy birthday.
I appreciate that, man.
Really appreciate you. And I remember that conversation. It was probably the most meaningful conversation prior to me starting it was of, telling you of this idea and you just saying, just run with it, just do it.
Yeah.
And it was that same night when I just started like actioning everything. So appreciate you for everything that you do, everything that you are.
Thanks, brother.
And for the questions, yes, because there were quite a few more. So to help everyone learn and all that stuff, Dr. J, maybe what I'll do is I'll send you the questions.
Please
And
do.
if you, I don't know how you want to do it. If you want to spend like 5 minutes making another like pre-recorded video, answering them, and then I can send that off to everybody. That way everyone can like listen to the questions, hear the responses, all that stuff.
I think that's a great idea, and you're giving me homework on my birthday. Thanks. I will get it done. This guy.
No rush at all. No rush at all.
Appreciate you, man. I'm very, very. I'm going to repeat myself one more time. Sorry to take up more space. Listen, Dr. Kevin is a perfect example of what we all go through when we have ideas, and sometimes you just need to talk it out with someone that you you respect for sure, and someone that you love. And I can honestly say that I feel that way about this young man and everything that he's doing. Make sure you surround yourself with people who are going to inspire you and encourage you to do the work, not say, oh man, that sounds really hard. I don't think anybody's going to respond to that. That person needs to be dropped from your circle immediately. This is a perfect example of this. He thought it and then he did it. Be a blob of dew.
Amazing. Amazing. All right, everyone. I'm going to give you guys a 5-minute break. I have a little video and there's a timer at the bottom. So after that timer finishes, then we'll resume with the next one. All right. Dr. J, appreciate you again.
Appreciate you, brother.
Just to confirm, everyone can see this video on the screen.
Yeah, we see it.